And
okay, so what's...
You need to understand that, like...
Yeah, so what's the direct honesty?
You are a pretty woman, and if you lost weight, you'd be much more pretty than you are now.
Thanks. That's such a compliment. Thank you so much.
I'm not trying to insult you. Like,
You're actually so fucking nice.
No. Like,
thank you.
I know you're saying
I
that
really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're saying that sarcastically?
Thank you.
But I mean that honestly.
Yeah, thanks. I really care about your opinion.
Alright.
Thanks. Thank you.
Alright. Cool.
I mean, she asked him explicitly for direct honesty. And then she's like, I don't care about your opinion. Okay, why did you ask for it? I mean, this situation, this woman is another example in a long list of examples of women asking for something that they don't actually want. Give me honesty, but not if it hurts my feelings. Open up to me emotionally, but not if it makes you seem all weak and girly. You know, there could be a big difference between what women think that they want and what they can actually handle. And often when women do get what they want, it's a huge disappointment to them. Like, imagine a princess who's out on a walk in the jungle and she sees a wild tiger and she's really inspired by its like raw strength and ferocity. And so she orders it to be captured and brought back to the palace. But what she finds is that once it's been caged, it loses that untamed wildness that made it attractive in the first place. Now it's of no danger to her. It's been domesticated. It's boring. This is how women are with a lot of men. Like, they're attracted to the guy because he's like wild and untamable. He's just got this raw masculinity. She's like, oh my God, I find that so desirable. I've got to have that. He's got to be my boyfriend. Only to find that once she succeeds and she tames that masculinity and bends it to her will, then all of the thrill and the desire is gone.
If she can control you, she won't ever truly respect you.
Right. So then what's the princess meant to do? Is she meant to open the cage and release the tiger? Well, she can't do that because then the tiger's going to run away and abandon her. The tiger's in the cage, but the irony is that she's actually the one who's trapped. I know that women can seem confusing and difficult to understand, so let me break this core part of the feminine psyche down for you, because then it's going to make a lot more sense. See, women are caught between two competing instincts. On the one hand, there's that strong pull towards men who are like tough and independent. The masculine rock who's just completely unmoved by all of her feminine chaos. She lusts after him because she feels like his masculinity is going to be the thing that's going to keep her calm. It's going to provide for her. It's going to protect her. But at the same time that she's feeling that intense attraction towards him, she's also terrified because she's thinking, well, what's to stop this guy from just running away and leaving me? You know, if she allows herself to become reliant upon him, not just for protection and material resources, but also at a deeper psychological level, you know, to help regulate her emotions, then she's not going to be able to tolerate the possibility that at one point he's just going to leave. She needs safety, and that need makes her draw him close, you know, pull him in really tight and try and keep him inside her control. She has this unconscious compulsion to bend him to her will, and she'll start to like drop little barbs here and there, you know, trying to make him feel guilty anytime he displays independence or isn't spending all of his time with her. In really toxic, abusive relationships, it ends with a woman like completely dictating to the man how he can spend his money, what his hobbies can be, who he's allowed to be friends with. And if she succeeds and turns him into this like compliant, like, yes, dear kind of man, then one part of her feels safe because she's made him compliant. He's not going to leave. He's inside her control. But guess what? Just like the tiger that the princess brought back to the palace, he's now boring because he's been tamed, he's been domesticated. That's going to kill any sexual polarity between them. And so this is the pattern that happens for a lot of women, is that they're attracted to Mr. Wild, untamable guy. They get him into a relationship, they break him down, they bend him to her will, get him under her control, and then suddenly he becomes boring, too much of a nice guy, too weak, not masculine enough. And so she breaks up with him, or she has an affair with another hyper masculine guy. You know, she sleeps with him because that's what her sexual impulse is telling her to do. And then she gets into a relationship with that guy where, again, she repeats the same pattern, you know, stripping apart the very parts of his masculinity that she found attractive, and just on and on and on. She cycles through men like this. You think that you find women confusing. Let me tell you, women find women confusing.
I want leadership, but don't just like boss me around, you know? Like lead me. Lead me when I'm in the mood to be led.
Clips like that, they're like humorous satire because they touch on an important truth, is that women, they've got these competing instincts, and sometimes it will mean having a nice guy at home and then going out and having an affair with, you know, Mr. Jerk bad boy. But even if she's monogamous and just committed to one guy, that doesn't mean that she doesn't still have these competing instincts. It just means that that one dude, he has to cop these competing expectations from her. It's awful because he's always confused about what exactly she needs at any moment. If he moves away from her, then she follows him. But if he moves towards her, then she retreats.
To all my fellas out there who have dealt with a female, I don't know how the fuck y'all deal with us, because this is like my first time really dealing with a female in a relationship type thing, and this motherfucker driving me fucking crazy. She never know what the fuck she want to eat. She always got an attitude.
Not every woman presents in like a crazy sort of extreme way, but basically every woman is going to have these competing instincts. And as a man, you need to know what to do about it. And that's what I'm going to cover in this video. But first, isn't it awesome when something that you love comes back in a new, even better form? Like when they digitally remaster the works of old musicians, like Leonard Cohen, one of my favorites. You hear the updated audio of his songs and it's just better. Well, Raycon, the sponsor of today's video, has done the same thing. They've taken their everyday earbuds classic model and now added active noise cancellation. It was so useful on my recent trip to Fiji. I'm on the airplane with all of that background flight noise. Very comfortable, very peaceful, just listening to my audiobooks. I love my earbuds. They've got 8 hours of playtime and 32 hours of battery life. There are 3 different sound modes, so you can tailor it to your preference. And they have optimized gel tips, giving you a customized, comfortable fit. They're great for wearing around the house, doing the dishes, making a fire, and I'm confident that they're never going to fall out. I love my earbuds. I highly recommend them. And if you're ready to upgrade the audio in your life, click on the link in the description box below, or go to buyraycon.com/AlexGrace to get 20% off fan favorite everyday earbuds classic, sponsored by Raycon. Okay, back to the video and these women who desire you when you're wild and untamed, but also scared of you because they don't want you to leave, so they try and control you. And so it's kind of a you can't win sort of situation. Either she desires you, but she feels unsafe, or she controls you, but finds you boring. If this describes your relationship, I've got some bad news for you, which is that you can't fix this. There is a contradiction at her very core, and it stems from her fear of abandonment. All women are going to have this to a certain degree. It's kind of just human, or it's part of femininity. But if this is a big deal in your relationship, that fear of abandonment is going to define so much of your interaction with her. Now, if you're a nice guy, when you see your girlfriend freak out every time you do something independently, you're going to be highly tempted to just drop whatever you were doing and just spend time with her. You know, you don't want her to suffer. You're a nice guy. You care about her. A lot of guys put pressure on themselves. They think, all right, if I am just the perfect boyfriend, if I just do everything that she wants, then it'll fix it. Then there'll be no more problem. I'll just be everything that she needs me to be. But understand, that's never going to work. That's not going to create real love, because by definition, to love another person means that that other person is an individual, a distinct, separate person. Love isn't about merging and controlling each other. Love can't be controlled. To love another person is really an act of trust. It carries inside it an inherent risk, because if you love them, then you acknowledge that they are a separate person, distinct from you, capable of making choices that you might not necessarily approve of. But for a woman who's absolutely terrified of abandonment, she doesn't have that trust. And she has no confidence that if given a free choice, a man is going to choose her. She's too insecure. She's got too low self-esteem. True intimacy, like the love I was just talking about, that feels too vulnerable. And so the deal that a lot of those kinds of women make is to just forego the idea of being attracted to their husband or to their boyfriend. They think, no, if I'm attracted to him, that means he could potentially leave me. I just want someone who's always there. I want him safe. I want him predictable. I want him under my control so that I know he'll never leave me.
Why would you end it?
Because I would get bored.
Why would you come back?
Because then I got bored again.
So when you say you got bored, what does that mean?
Do you know the 3-month rule? You're always excited to see this person and you just want to hang out with them all the time. And then that feeling just slowly fades
TikTok?
away. Yeah, exactly.
Like, is there any blame on this individual for you getting bored? Like maybe you weren't
He's too sweet.
too nice.
Oh gosh.
I mean, that woman is being more honest than a lot of women are. There's kind of self-awareness there that I begrudgingly admire. But what she's describing is a real phenomenon. A lot of men get put through this. She loved me to start with. You know, we were so hot and heavy. She was all over me. But like 3 months in, she's telling me I'm too nice. She's got bored of me. Yeah, because now you're under her control. But control is not love. She's not really seeking love in the form of like a connection to another person. She's viewing men and relationships more like a tool or like a medication, like a Xanax that she can take to regulate her emotions. At best, you'd call it codependent, but at worst, it's just straight out abuse. Women entering into relationships genuinely feeling entitled to always feel calm, always safe. And, you know, her emotional mood, her stability is his responsibility. And so if she's feeling scared or upset, she's like, how dare you make me feel this way? She's not vulnerable with him. She's angry with him. And so she shames and attacks and criticizes. And he just terrified of this monster that's unfolding in front of him. And he's like, okay, whatever you need, just I'll do it. I'll just calm down, please. It's very sad. And it's also very common. Like I can guarantee there's guys in the comment section who are like, yep, this describes my ex-girlfriend. If that fear of abandonment is really extreme and it's actually like disrupting the relationship, then in all likelihood, you're dealing with somebody who has a particular attachment style called fearful avoidant. Most commonly, it's referred to as disorganized attachment. If you guys haven't looked into attachment theory yet, it's really good. It talks a lot about how like your early experiences in childhood and how you understood your relationship to your parents can shape a kind of like core way that you experience and interact with the world. It's worth looking into, particularly if you're dating a woman who has like this disorganized attachment. And just having that attachment style is not always serious, but in its extreme form, you'd give it a clinical diagnosis. It's called borderline personality disorder. If you're dating a woman who's borderline, you have to be very careful as a man. It's dangerous. It can be tempting. Like I've certainly counseled a lot of you guys who are reluctant to give up your relationship with a woman who's borderline, because when things are good, you know, she can be so passionate, she can be so into you. And if that hits a part of your psyche that really wants that validation, that can be really, really hard to give up. But the bad times are really, really bad, because a woman who has borderline personality disorder, she doesn't have a stable sense of self. Like her identity is like always in flux. And so it can quickly drag you down into her chaos. And it's worth spending a bit of time just understanding where this came from, like what actually creates disorganized attachment. And as usual, the culture is quick to blame men, you know, the narrative being like, oh, you know, my father left or he was always working and that's what gave me this sense of abandonment and like, oh, men can't be trusted. And yeah, that absolutely can happen. But the thing about disorganized attachment is it absolutely still shows up in households where the dad was present and loving. Often it's actually the relationship with the mother that was the issue, particularly if mum was inconsistent with her love. Like maybe some of you guys listening to this, you're like, maybe I have disorganized attachment. Like if your mum was like really loving one day, but the other day she was like cold and uncaring and neglectful, that can be really confusing. And for a young daughter, if her mum is like relying upon her to regulate her emotions, like she's completely emotionally enmeshed with her daughter, that's really going to inhibit the daughter's ability to actually individuate and to create her own identity as a separate person, because the mother has always just seen seeing her daughter as an extension of herself. And it doesn't need to be negative, like in an obvious way. It could be like excessive praise over something like achievement, like, oh, you're a good girl. You always do everything you're told, or look at all the prizes you've won, or the good grades that you've got. And so love for her becomes linked to this sense of like, okay, I've got to achieve. You see this play out a lot with women who become perfectionists, and their entire adult life is just a struggle to like exert control over themselves. And, you know, given the choices, that's actually preferable, because then at least those controlling instincts are not being expressed outwards. Like some women, they're going to try and control their boyfriends. They'll be really controlling that way, but not all. Some women, they'll kind of enter into an abusive relationship with themselves. They've got this inner voice that's like, you need to behave, you need to achieve, you're never good enough, because that's the belief that they internalized from, you know, the abandonment from one of their parents or their mother's inconsistency is like, oh, all these terrible things are happening there because you're not good enough. So do better, be more perfect. It's incredibly sad because love for a child is something that should just be freely given. You know, a child should have an experience of unconditional love. You are okay the way that you are. But if you don't receive that, or you don't receive it consistently, then you internalize the belief that love is something that you need to earn. And I admit it, I actually have a soft spot for women like this, like high achieving perfectionist kind of women. It's not healthy, but I respect that that controlling instinct goes inwards rather than outwards. And I think that, misplaced as it may be, there's something noble to this notion that I'm going to earn love. Like I'm just going to do better and I'm going to try and achieve more and more and more. But too often you find these women, they're super critical of themselves. They take it too far and one day they snap. You know, they have a breakdown or they just place all the blame on you. And with one of these perfectionist women, it can be exhausting to be in a relationship with her, to try and support her constantly every day, just saying, hey, relax, you know, take it easy. You're good. I love you. You know, don't be so hard on yourself. That's tiring, but it's still, I think, the preferable option, the woman who controls herself, as opposed to the woman who tries to control others to deal with her emotions.
I should be getting grapes fed to me. I should be getting forehead kisses when I'm busy working. I should be told to not worry about a thing.
For a woman who has a really disorganized attachment, whatever she's feeling is your responsibility. And she has this sense that all of her issues would just be solved if you just did what you're told. And sadly, these two, you know, strategies from women, they're not mutually exclusive. There are women who will put like a lot of pressure on themselves until that becomes unsustainable. Then suddenly like this huge burden of dysregulated emotions just gets placed on you. It's like, no, I can't deal with this anymore. Now it's your responsibility. This will explain those relationships that some of you guys have had where a woman was like a perfectionist and she was trying to earn your love in the early parts of a relationship. But then once you got married and had children, then suddenly she switched. And that's when suddenly her worst instincts came out. And then she becomes like a completely different person. Now she's really controlling you and like critical of you. And what's happened is that she now feels safe. Like she feels like she's got you, you know, you're a father now, you know, the courts are on her side. You're committed to her. Like the initial part of the relationship, she was still so insecure about herself that she's trying to be perfect in order to entice you, to get you. But once she's got you, then she was never going to sustain that level of inner criticism. No, now that you're inside her control, you're the one who's copying all of this. And it makes me so sad to think about all those men out there who are spending their adult lives not living for themselves, not listening to their own desires, their own passions, their own emotions. No, their life, their well-being, like their day-to-day experience is entirely dictated around trying to regulate the moods of their partner. That sucks. That's so sad. They don't deserve that. They deserve the dignity of living their own life. They should be loved and valued for who they are. And they should be seen for who they are, which is a distinct, separate person. And if this video has hit home, then I do recommend that you watch some videos or you read some books on disorganized attachment to try and learn more about this, particularly for any guys who are in a relationship with a woman who this describes, but they don't want to break up with her. I mean, sometimes that is the right choice, like if you're not too committed, but sometimes there's genuine love involved. It's not always bad. Or you're married, there's financial implications, or God forbid, you've got children and you don't want to risk custody. And so I want to take some time to help those guys who are in relationships with women like this and they want to to help. They want to do what they can to try and improve things. Yes, you're dating a woman who's got disorganized attachment, but you want her to see you as you are, as a real person. You want the experience of being loved, not for what you can do for her, but just for who you truly are. That's what I'm going to cover in the rest of this video. If you want to keep watching, come and join me on Patreon. What I post here on YouTube, these are just the shortened, abridged versions of my videos. I go into a lot more of the depth and the nuance on Patreon. So if you want to keep watching, come join me on Patreon.